Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back in with another video, and this is going to be the LEGO Star Wars MOC Showcase episode 10. This is a series I've created to highlight some of the best MOCs I've come across on the internet. If you find any of the MOCs in this video impressive, all I ask is that you go to the link included in the description and support the builder by giving them a like, comment, or even a follow. The first MOC we're going to take a look at today is by a builder by the name of Elven Ranger, and it is called Skirmish on Lothal. This thing is an absolute beauty. A lot of people are always trying to tell me, hey Jay, you should try to do a freeform MOC at some point. And while that's something I would certainly like to try, it's not currently really feasible with the large scale MOCs that I'm doing. This MOC is not a freeform MOC per se, but I feel like it may as well be with the effect that you get from the side. I love how the ground essentially looks layered with like the dirt, and then it kind of goes up to the vegetation as well as the street built into it. I always appreciate looking at MOCs like this with any sort of foliage and vegetation, just because that's not something I've really built before, so it's nice to get a lot of inspiration and different design tips from other people by reviewing these MOCs. And I think that the vegetation up front just looks so good. I mean, it really does evoke a lot of feelings of Lothal, especially those main roadways that lead to the Imperial installations. Like, just looking at this MOC at a glance, I know exactly where this is supposed to be. When I first looked at these cargo crates, I assumed that there was some sort of sticker used at the top of it because of the unique looking pattern, but upon closer inspection, you can see that it's actually not stickers. It's actually a clever use of 1x2 grill tiles along with some snot techniques on the side of it to get that nice pattern. It's not something that like I feel is recognizable. Like I'm not even entirely sure if that's like an accurate crate, but it's something that it just looks unique in LEGO. It's not a pattern you typically see, and it looks pretty freaking good. So I give him a lot of credit there. I think that the action scene looks really good as well, having Kanan rescuing Ezra from the Imperial Stormtroopers. I don't know, it's very reminiscent of just something you would see on Star Wars Rebels. I think that a lot of the builds in the back also look really good. I mean, there's a good use of those Technic half pins and bars, and even lightsaber hilts on those like lamppost builds in the back, so those actually look really nice. And then if you go over to the far right, there's like this little, I'm not even entirely sure what it is. I imagine it's some sort of machinery, but it looks really good. I like the combination of parts there. Greebling is one of those things where, you know, like it really is a lot of random parts, but it's not random parts because you want it to look kind of consistent. You want it to have some sort of style with it, and I think that it's just a really good use of parts in that little piece of machinery to the top right corner of the MOC. I also do appreciate the crash speeder. You got Hera up front with, I think that's actually Rey's blaster from The Force Awakens. Looks pretty cool. And she's taking on an Imperial Stormtrooper herself. All in all, I think this is just a beautiful looking MOC. Once again, people are always asking me, Jay, I need a MOC idea, what should I do? And I mean, it's just little things like this. Doesn't necessarily have to be a scene from the show, but just something that can evoke all the emotions and the feelings from the show, I think can really go a long way. As someone who primarily does builds that are, you know, pretty based on screens and things that I've actually seen, it's nice to see MOCs like this where you can still have an appreciation for something that can kind of come out of a person's mind and they can be creative with it, but it's still very much so in line with what we've seen on screen. So Elven Ranger, you're probably going to be in this series many times after this. You always do a wonderful job at these MOCs, and I was more than happy to put this one in the video. The next build we're going to take a look at is a large-scale Dewback and Sandtrooper by LEGO 7, and holy crap does this look awesome. I like builds like this because it really is, it's kind of artistic in a way. Like, I feel most people when they build LEGO Star Wars stuff, they're either aiming for minifig scale or something that can be incorporated with minifig. But when you go for a larger scale, you have to be a little bit more creative because obviously you can't use minifigs with this, and then you're forced to basically kind of think outside of the box and have to design everything from your own imagination because like I said, like LEGO doesn't really make things at this scale very often. I think that is a testament to just a really great builder. And I'm just looking at this, I feel it's very in line with what we've gotten with UCS sets, and like I can totally see them doing something like this. I know they've kind of gotten close to this with like the contraction figure series. I for one would prefer this to the contraction figure series. I feel it's more true to the spirit of LEGO. And they've also done like the statue builds, for example, with like the UCS Grievous. But I think like a line of sets kind of done at this scale that, you know, focus more on like good build techniques, not techniques, and just recreating like static scenes not really meant to be played with so much. I think this could actually do really well as a line of UCS sets. But in terms of the actual build, I think that the Dewback just looks beautiful. It is almost completely snot, which I will always appreciate. There's a clever use of wedge plates, wedge bricks, and curved slopes that all work together to just make a really nice looking Dewback build. And I really just love how like the shapes kind of come together, like the way that the head kind of connects to the body. I feel that's not really a conventional type of Lego connection, but it works here and it looks really, really good. If we go up to the Stormtrooper up top, I think that that thing just looks freaking awesome. With the brick built helmet, I would really just love to see an entire line of MOCs done at this scale. I mean, it allows you to capture a lot of the details that we maybe wouldn't normally get with like Star Wars creations, and I don't know, maybe like a hover tank or something like that at this scale, especially with this guy showing us just how good the trooper can look. I think will actually go a long way. As someone who personally builds, you know, most if not all things at minifig scale, I don't often consider doing something like this, but I think this MOC is definitely one that can inspire me to maybe try something like this, think a little bit outside of the box and make more of like a display piece type of build like this. With this and even the Boga build that I did on the other review recently, I don't know, these guys are really starting to get me interested in maybe thinking a little bit outside the box, doing something a little bit different. The next MOC we're going to take a look at is by the builder by the name of Brick Production Studios, and it is just simply called Evacuation. I really was intrigued by this MOC simply because of the narrative of it. I'm honestly surprised we don't see more MOCs like this given the nature of the First Order. I mean, we learned that they're pretty much a group who goes and literally steals children from families to raise them in their army, so I would honestly love to see more MOCs kind of done in that regard, with them going to random planets and kind of, you know, just stealing people away. So this MOC isn't exactly that, but I feel it's very in line with it. You know, the First Order going to some civilization, terrorizing people, just causing trouble all over the place, and the build itself is obviously not a slouch either. I love MOCs that can be kind of diverse with the groundwork and the general terrain that we see. So you see, like, there's a little sliver of a shore that it's close to the bottom left corner, and then it kind of generally grows to like vegetation as we get to the back of the MOC. One of the other things that really stuck out to me about this MOC, if we go on to the next picture, is actually this little build right here. I'm honestly not entirely too sure what it might be, but it looks really freaking cool. It's kind of like a mechanical walkway or something. I don't know, maybe like a First Order ship dropped that off for the troops, who knows. But I don't know, this looks really cool. It's a hexagon. We know the First Order loves hexagons, so it certainly fits in with the aesthetic of the MOC. If we go on to the next picture, we get a good look at that platform that has been set up, and once again we can just see the First Order riot troopers kind of handling various civilians, and I don't know, it just all looks so, it just makes sense, I guess. Just looking at it, I can totally envision the First Order going to some planet and terrorizing people like this. One of the builds I really like in this is actually right behind that First Order Stormtrooper on the left, and it's that like hologram type build. There's a good use of those ski pieces in there, and then up top there's like the I don't know, it's like the like rock gem piece in trans blue. I don't know exactly what it's called. Some people might use the gold version of that as some French fries, but either way, I like it a lot. It looks really, really good. On the next photo, we get a better look at some of the citizens that the First Order is taking hostage. I love just the diversity of the minifigures here. You can see there are various aliens used throughout the MOC, and I can always appreciate that. I think that we all jump at the opportunity to get new Star Wars aliens because it can just make our MOCs and such look so much more diverse. So I like that about this MOC. But all in all, I just find this MOC really inspiring, and I really hope to see more like it. I feel like we see so many MOCs of clone troopers and battle droids on random planet having a battle, but why not get maybe more MOCs like this with the First Order going to random planets, terrorizing the citizens, and of course taking their children to enlist in their army. I think that can make for some really, really nice looking builds, and honestly I'd like to maybe see some of that in episode 9. This next build is actually one I've been wanting to talk about for a very long time. It is simply called an Imperial Base by a builder by the name of Kalais, or Brick's Treasure, and it actually kind of has an interesting story behind it. So he actually designed this to be the set of a stop motion film that he wanted to work on. He actually launched an Indiegogo campaign for it last year in hopes of reaching a certain goal to, I guess, not only add to this but also build some other scenes and sets in order to do that brick film on. And that kind of resonated with me as someone who kind of started off doing brick films on YouTube, and also just has an appreciation for brick films in general, and of course has an appreciation for large MOCs in general. A lot of people are always telling me, you know, why don't you do stop motions on your big MOCs that you do? And oftentimes the biggest limiting factor is the fact that most of the builds I do are snot, specifically with the ground, which will absolutely complicate things when trying to animate figures, because, you know, you can't stand a figure up and mini poses on snot without using like some sort of sticky tack or whatever. But this was this guy's plan all along. I mean, he built this beautiful MOC here and he was going to do a stop motion on it. I'm not entirely sure if he still plans on continuing with the project, considering he didn't really meet the goal on his Indiegogo, but nonetheless, it is definitely a great looking MOC, and I wanted to talk about it here on this channel. So I think that the general aesthetic of it is just really good. Kind of reminds you of Renvar. Those are the vibes I'm kind of getting from it, with like an Imperial base and like a snowy mountainous type of terrain. I really appreciate the creativity in this build. Like, obviously it's an Imperial base, but it's not really anything that we've seen before. It doesn't look like anything we've seen before. So clearly he employed a lot of his own imagination to build this MOC. Up front and center, I wanted to take notice to this crashed TIE fighter that actually looks pretty dope. You can see that there's like pieces of the wings broken into the ground, and I think that it actually like pulled up a bunch of the snow next to it. You can see there's a trail right behind it. I think this is a really clever technique. The snow on either side of it is actually built snot, and below it are the dark gray plates. So I don't know, I think it's a really good looking technique for that. It looks very nice and accurate. We got some rebel troops coming in off from the left on a custom looking ship. There's a ton of snow troopers, stormtroopers, even a couple patrol troopers up front who are defending their base, which are of course the makings of a very good LEGO Star Wars MOC. A base defense MOC is probably one of the most popular MOC concepts that we see in this community. A couple other things I really like about this base is just the general graping, like right above that main doorway, the use of those pipes in there, and of course there's other pieces, like I think I see some of those pneumatic T pieces, there's some of the flick fire missiles and such in there. I don't know, it just looks really good. If we even look above that, there's actually a really dope looking turret. Looks like it has guns on either side, which is very interesting, and I don't know, just it's a very like unique, creative looking design. I can appreciate it when someone, you know, takes things from their imagination but incorporates it into the Star Wars universe in a way that makes sense and looks consistent with other things we've seen in the universe. I also really like the walkways in this MOC. Like if you look right above the TIE fighter to like the top, I guess top right corner of the TIE fighter, there's like a walkway with some exposed windows. You can see a lot of Imperial troops kind of looking out, observing the battle that is taking place on the ground. And I don't know, I have an affinity for catwalks, so I think that just looks really nice there. All in all, I just really love the aesthetic of this MOC. He took a terrain that I always love to see with the snow-capped mountains, and had to put an Imperial base into it. Kind of has like vibes of Starkiller base, so I definitely appreciate it. I couldn't find any great pictures of the backside of this MOC other than a screen cap of actually the video he posted on the Indiegogo, but this is what I got, and it looks pretty cool as well. You can see on the left side, got some stormtroopers talking to some officers. You can see the main part of the builds is those troopers actually heading out of the base to go deal with those pesky rebels. To the right of that is the catwalk, and then to the right of that is actually one of our iconic Imperial meeting rooms. You can see we got the round table with our Imperial officers. Looks like Tarkin may actually be there as well, which is kind of cool. You can see that he also kind of has the terrain bleeding into the actual build. You can see there's like mountains kind of built into the architecture of that room on the far right, which I really love. I mean, that was one of my favorite things about Starkiller Base, and the fact that he's incorporated that into the Imperial base, I definitely have an appreciation for. I would honestly wonder if he had any inspiration from Starkiller Base in designing this, but either way, I think this is just an awesome looking build. I hope someday we actually see the brick film that he had planned with this, and if you guys want to know more about that brick film, go show him some support. Of course, the links are in the description. These are the types of things that I would love to support in this community. You know, people not only doing awesome builds, but trying to turn it into something even more meaningful with a brick film. I just hope it all ends up working out at some point. And that's going to finish up the video today, guys. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at these wonderful MOCs with me. Like I always say, if there's one thing you do while watching this video, I just ask you guys to go support the builders. If any of the builds stuck out to you, check out the links in the description. Go give them a like, follow, or even a comment. Also, if you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.